Good day and welcome to this lesson. So in this lesson, I'm going to be teaching about JavaScript class. I just want to introduce to you what JavaScript class and is and how JavaScript class works, right? So first of all, let's go ahead and clear our page. Let's just go ahead and clear our script tag, and let's just remove this button as well as this. So now usually a class is a group of functions together, right? A class usually contains functions within it and all of them are related to the same thing. For example, you could have a class called car, and then you could have a function of a class called maybe the age of the car, the properties of the car like the engine class and all that. In programming, there are usually two ways of programming, right? We have functional programming method and we have object-oriented programming. Now, let me use this as an analogy for us. Assuming, let's say we have an academic paper to write. Some people, when they have this academic paper to write, the first thing that they ask themselves is, how am I going to write my chapter 1? And while they are focusing on chapter 1, they are not focusing on chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. That is completely out of their mind. All they are focusing on is chapter 1, right? Whereas there are others who, when they have an academic paper to write, the first thing they think about is, okay, how many chapters do I want to write? Okay, these are the number of chapters I want to write. How will these chapters relate to each other? You find out that while the first group of people is thinking in terms of, let me start from what I can do now and work my way to the top, the second group of people are thinking of, okay, let me look at the whole project and then work my way down to the bottom so that I can have everything figured out before I start. And that's just an analogy of how it is. When we talk about functional programming, most of the times you are creating functions from bottom to top, right? You're saying, okay, this is what I want to do now. How can I create a function that will do it? This is what I want to do next. How can I create a function that will do it? But when we talk about object-oriented programming with classes, what you're trying to do is that you're trying to look at everything you want to do and then you want to group them together. That means you are looking at all the functions you need to create to achieve a certain goal, and you're trying to group all of them together to achieve that goal. So let's go straight into programming. The first thing I need to do is to create a class. So I'll write class, and let's call this class, let's say person. So now this whole class I'm creating is going to be focused on this person. Then I'll go ahead and create a constructor. Constructor for my class, and I'll give it, let's say, name of the person as well as date of birth. So I'll just call it DOB. And let me just write it in full. So now this constructor method is what I will use to pass parameters to my class. Pause. So now I'll go ahead and store these parameters inside a local variable for the class itself, for the whole class, right? So I'll say this.name, and then assuming I want to carry out any processing of the data, I can do it here before I store it. But now we are not processing the data. I'll just go ahead and write name, and then I'll write this dot dates of birth, and let it be equal to date of birth. Okay, what is the error? Class person. Okay, sorry, there's no parenthesis in the class. Yes. So now the next thing I want to do is create my function. For now, let's just create a function called age, a method called age, and then we'll go ahead and pass an attribute to age. Let's call it x for now. And then all I want to do is to say x minus this dot date of birth. Now we use this keyword here to indicate that this is what we are talking about. So all the functions and methods in the class have access to this particular variable. So I can come down here now. That's outside of my class. And one of the beautiful things about using classes to code, right, is that you can call your class anywhere that page is being called, right? You can call your class anywhere within your page and use it with reusability. So I can go ahead and just create a variable called date, which is normal date. I'll put in. Now this date you see here is an inbuilt class of JavaScript, right? Is a class that is already inbuilt, and this is how you instantiate a class, or you'll see it when we do it for person. Then I'll say, let me just get the current year. Year equals date dot get full year. This is a method. This get full year here is a method within this date class, just the same way our age is a method within our person class. So now let me go ahead and instantiate my own class that I created. So I'll say let my person. I'll just create, you can create any variable and store it there. I'll call mine my person be equal to, then now I will, just the same way this date class was instantiated, I'll put new person, and then passing these two parameters as you can see here. So for this, I'll just pass in my name, which is Samuel, and I'll pass in a date of birth. Let me just go ahead. And now let me go ahead and just write something to our HTML. Let me change this particular, let me clean this here and clean this here. So I'll just go ahead and say document dot get element by ID, my p1 tag dot inner HTML equal to, and I'll say I am. It's a string, so I put inside quotation mark. Say I am. I'll concatenate it now. With my class first, which I have stored inside this variable, the instantiation of my class. So I'll say my person, then dot the particular method I want to call, which in this case is age. And as you can see, age takes in a parameter, so I'll put in the year. So I pass the current year to this age function. And I save that. Then I come over to my browser and I refresh. And you see, okay, I am undefined years old. Let's go ahead and find out what the error is. Okay, here is the error. I did not return anything from my function. So I'll go ahead and put return. Okay, we save that. And then I refresh again. And as you can see, it has shown I am 40 years old. So that is how we deal with classes. Basically, you can have as many functions as you want in your class, and this is how you access it.